officers. It's a conversation about what we're doing on our end of the spectrum to stop these things. Listen, we don't work in silos anymore. You know, a couple weeks ago, we tasked Lieutenant Giuliani with figuring out how the structure of the new task force would look. We want to bring in 4 local task force officers. We want to bring in 4 troopers with a sergeant and Lieutenant Giuliani for the supervision end of it and assign it to special investigations. Well, that's not the end of it. Our FBI counterparts are here. I've spoken with ATF about the gun chasing task force that they're going to be part of, that will fall under our umbrella. And then there's a violent crime initiative also ready to go for most of our cities and our suburbs to attack violent crime, which will probably come under the FBI umbrella and work collaboratively with all our cities and all our suburbs. But today you see a very big seizure. And unfortunately, the arrest warrant has been sealed, and there may be an extension. The search warrant is sealed. But what we can tell you today is that, hey, listen, this guy was an entrepreneur. He had a cottage industry going, right? He was able to grab raw materials. He was able to acquire parts. He was able to assemble firearms, construct them. He conducted his own testing, distribution, and supply. Pretty busy guy. But unfortunately, these guns end up in the wrong hands. They go around our licensing and firearms statutes, and they end up in the wrong hands, and sooner or later they're going to end up hurting somebody. Ghost guns. You know, as you see, there's a couple of them up here, and ghost guns are a combination of both what is acquired over the internet and ordered and manufactured parts, as you can see, probably from this 3D printer here. Just a little snapshot we gathered this morning. As I look at Hartford, Waterbury, and New Haven. In 2020, Hartford seized 7 ghost guns, Waterbury 3 ghost guns, New Haven 3. In 2021, 29 in Hartford, 9 in Waterbury, 15 in New Haven. So we're pretty much done with the first quarter of 2022. Hartford is already up to 20. So the expectation could be quite larger. Waterbury has 4, and New Haven always has 10. So these guns are out there. So the collaboration with the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and the agent in charge, James Ferguson, we want to make sure that we trace every one of these guns down to ground. Where it was manufactured, who were the buyers, and how did it get into the illegal market? Because those are the guns that are hurting our citizens, not only in the cities but in our suburbs, and they're tied to numerous things. You know, after 41 years, I'll often tell you, guns, drugs, and automobiles. Nothing has changed in 41 years, folks. It is still the same thing as we move forward. So it's really sharing a critical intelligence initiative also. No one will work in a silo. Everyone will cooperate with information as we move forward. So with that, folks, you know, we're going to have some time for questions, maybe some explanation from the lieutenants and from other folks, but really this is a great seizure on our part. It keeps weapons and ammunition off our streets, and it's a continuing investigation. There's a lot more dominoes that will fall from this. It doesn't stop with just our show and tell today, but photos just don't do it justice. You have to see what was seized and discuss it with those that have seized it. So thank you very much. Colonel?
Thank you, Commissioner. Now you'll hear from Governor Lamont. Sir.
Well, Commissioner Stavros, and to the best trained, best state police in the country, thank you for what you've done every day, and particularly what we see here in front of us. This is shocking. This is a flea market of illegal guns. That's a machine gun over there. These are semi-automatic, automatic weapons that have nothing to do with legitimate hunting. Nobody's going after birds. These are all made with a 3D printer here. They're made to evade law. These guns, these ghost guns, they don't show up at TSA. They're meant for a purpose, and it's a dangerous purpose. Some of these are built with grooves, I was told, so that you get a silencer on there. Illegal right now. look, nobody's taken away anybody's legal guns. But I got to tell you, this proliferation of illegal guns, this proliferation of ghost guns, which are, no serial number, not maybe to be traced, gets through TSA, is incredibly dangerous going on. These automatic weapons, these machine guns right now, is got to stop. We have more of these on the street today than we've ever had in decades. Franklin Roosevelt, he made those things illegal back in the 30s, and here we go again. So I just want to ask, members of the public, a salute to the state police and the New Britain police and the ATF and all those who work together. As Jim said, we're no longer in silos. If you see something, say something. Contact the state police going forward. But this is coming up to the summer. It's some hot months coming up, and we don't want this stuff on the street. We're not going to let it get there, but we need your help every day. And yet, again, one more time, thanks to the amazing state police here in Connecticut.
If you have any questions, we have some firearms experts. Is there anything with the investigation that Lieutenant Giuliano could answer? We'll try to answer.
Good afternoon. My name is Lieutenant Anthony Giuliano, and I'm the commanding officer of the State Police Bureau of Special Investigations. I'm going to go into a little bit of a background of this investigation the best I could, considering this is an ongoing investigation. The Bureau of Special Investigation is comprised of several investigatory units, including the Firearms Trafficking Task Force. The mission of the Firearms Trafficking Task Force is the effective and cooperative enforcement of laws of this state concerning the distribution and possession of firearms. I'd like to thank Governor Ned Lamont, Commissioner James Rovella, Colonel Stavros Mellekas, and Lieutenant Colonel Jack Gonzalez for their continued support that allows us to conduct these investigations in order to keep illegal firearms off the streets of the state. These firearms, ammunition, and magazines on the tables in front of you is a result of a several-month-long investigation into the legal production and distribution of firearms. This investigation by members of the Connecticut State Police Bureau of Special Investigations is part of a collaborative effort by several law enforcement agencies focusing on efforts to reduce illegal firearms on the streets of the state of Connecticut. The following agencies and investigative units assisted the state police: Connecticut State Police Statewide Narcotics Task Force, the Statewide Organized Crime Investigative Task Force, the State Police Electronic Surveillance Unit, the State Police Bomb Squad, the Central District Major Crime Squad, New Britain Police Department, the Drug Enforcement Administration, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. On April 12th, Stephen Garant Mastriani of 37 Hillhurst Avenue in New Britain was arrested by a court-issued arrest warrant after a 10-month investigation, charging him with several charges, including firearms trafficking, sale of assault weapons, possession of assault weapons, illegal transfer of long guns, possession of a machine gun, manufacturing of guns without serial numbers, also known as ghost guns, as well as various other charges. Garant Mastriani was a pistol permit holder at the time of his arrest and was found carrying a ghost gun on his person at that time. He was subsequently arrested and held on a $500,000 bond. Following his arrest, search warrants were executed at his residence and on several of his vehicles. As a result of the search of his home and vehicles, we've seized more than 150 items of evidence, including 125 firearms, as well as firearm components capable of making firearms fully automatic. These firearms include multiple fully automatic firearms, semi-automatic firearms, shotguns, pistols with threaded barrels, and hundreds of high-capacity magazines, and approximately 30,000 to 40,000 rounds of ammunition. Also seized was this high-tech 3D printer, along with pistol lower receivers that appear to be made with the printer. Many of these weapons in front of you are considered ghost guns as they lack the proper serial numbers. Also during the search, 3 homemade explosive devices were also found in the residence. The Connecticut State Police bomb squad was on scene and was able to safely dispose of the devices. Due to the outstanding work of the state police detectives within the Bureau of Special Investigations, we were not able only to seize these illegally possessed firearms, but we were able to arrest Garant Mastriani, who was illegally and improperly manufacturing and selling guns of various types to include fully and semi-automatic ghost guns to any buyer who wanted a firearm. Thank you.
If you have any questions, we'll take them now. If not, thank you very much.
For the governor, Meriden. So you have proposed legislation to deal with ghost guns. Where is that in this process? Because the session will be coming to a close shortly.
Yeah, in the, 3 years ago, we passed a law that said any ghost gun purchased after 2018 or 2019 has to be registered, has to have a serial number, and you can't, and be very strict about that. That's not good enough. These guys are saying, you can't tell looking at this whether it was 2015 or 2019. You know, I strongly believe that that ought to be a rule reflective of every single ghost gun in this state going back. So there's no questions our state police have to ask on that. To be blunt about it, I still got some work to do with the legislature on that. We passed a lot with the legislature, passed a lot in terms of, you know, additional police. We passed a lot in terms of speeding up arraignments, passed a lot in terms of, you know, juveniles and ways we can treat that. We were not as successful when it comes to, you know, these ghost guns and make it easier to trace. I will say one place I'm very, very thankful is that the legislature stood up and will be funding the gun task force that's done between Connecticut and our neighboring states. I think our neighboring states could be very interested to hear about these guns, the degree to which we can identify them. They'll be able to source them in terms of other wholesalers out there and get to the bottom of this conspiracy.
Thank you, sir. So this is either for the colonel or the commissioner. Good afternoon. Can you tell us where exactly you are in the process of tracking those who purchased the guns?
It's far too early in the investigation, and it might reveal some of the factors that are actually sealed in the arrest warrant. So I can't, we can't go into detail on that. But that is one of the facets of the investigation.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Really, right? This could be 10 murders avoided.